On our anniversary, my husband left me alone in Paris because of work, but one photo shattered his lie. I am Amanda, and for our sixth wedding anniversary, Robert, my husband, finally agreed to travel to Paris with me. I waited for him at the airport for an hour, and finally, my phone buzzed, his message flashing on the screen. Amanda, there's an urgent matter at the company. You go by yourself. Just one short, cold sentence, as if he was canceling a dinner plan, not abandoning me before a trip meant to celebrate 6 years of marriage he once promised me. I stared at the screen, waiting for an explanation, an apology, but nothing came. Only the airport announcement echoing through the hall, and the emptiness growing heavier in my chest. Just last month, Robert held my hand, his eyes lighting up when he said, "Haven't you always dreamed of going to Paris?" "This time I'll go with you, Amanda, I promise." I believed him. I planned everything down to the smallest detail, imagining us strolling hand in hand by the Seine, white doves circling, or embracing under the shimmering lights of the Eiffel Tower. I thought this trip would mend the cracks in our marriage, would remind him why he once loved me. But now I was standing alone in the airport, my heart heavy as stone. Past midnight, when the plane touched down in Paris, I scrolled through Instagram to kill time. And then Chloe, the colleague Robert always called his best friend, posted a photo. Is this what being loved feels like? Two hands clasped tightly, a familiar glittering ring, my wedding ring with Robert. I stared at it, feeling the ground collapse beneath me. But instead of crying, I gave a faint smile, my finger sliding across the screen to type. You two look so happy. Congratulations! I hit send. In the end, I couldn't hold back and called Robert. We had a huge argument. Over the phone, his voice was steady, emotionless, as if he was reading a work report. Can you stop making a scene? How many times do I have to tell you, Chloe and I are just friends? I wanted to scream, to break something, but I just hung up, letting silence speak for me. The next day, I walked into a small restaurant in Montmartre, the smell of freshly baked croissants in the air. That's where I met Julien, a French waiter with a warm smile and eyes as blue as the Seine in the morning. For €1,000, he agreed to be my guide. Julien led me through cobbled streets, past the glowing Louvre, through corners of Paris I had always dreamed of seeing. He took countless photos of me. On the last day, I posted one picture. Julien and I raising our coffee cups, sunlight shimmering on the water. The caption was short. By the Seine, nothing better. Less than 2 minutes later, my phone rang. Robert. His first words, sharp and cold. Who is that man? Without waiting for me to answer, his second question burst out, urgent, almost panicked. Where's the wedding ring on your hand? I could hear the tension in his voice, the kind of emotion I once longed for, but now meant nothing. 6 years together, Robert never thought I would leave him. He always assumed I would always be his wife. Every time I tried to talk and save our marriage, he dodged, cut off communication, as if I wasn't his wife at all. For years it was the same, but he didn't know, in these 10 days in Paris, I had already looked back at our marriage. If it had been before, hearing him ask in such a concerned tone, I would have been thrilled, overjoyed. But now, I felt nothing. I only gave him 2 answers. I'm not good at French. He's the guide I hired in Paris. As for the ring, I probably dropped it when I was feeding pigeons by the Seine. Silence on the other end, long and suffocating. Then Robert's voice dropped. Tomorrow I'll be at the airport to pick you up. I only said one word. Okay. Then hung up and turned off my phone. I took a sip of coffee, my eyes following the river, were flocks of pigeons lifted into the sky, free. 7 p.m. The plane landed. I was in high heels, dragging 2 large suitcases, walking toward the exit. Robert had booked the ticket. He knew exactly what time I would arrive. But by 8, then 8:30, there was still no sign of him. My phone stayed silent. No messages, no calls. The feeling of being abandoned cut into my chest like a dull knife. I didn't wait any longer. I called an Uber, stood shivering in the night wind for nearly 30 minutes before one finally came. On the way home, I dragged my luggage step by step, breathless, sweat soaking through the back of my shirt. By the time I got home, the clock had struck 11. My body was exhausted, but my mind was strangely alert. When the elevator doors opened, I stepped in, only for my heel to get stuck in the gap. A sharp pain shot from my ankle upward, and along with the throbbing ache came the chime of a message. It was from Leela, my best friend from college. "What are you still hesitating for? Paris is your dream. The Paris Art Academy will help you shine." I stared at the screen, my finger frozen, my breathing slowing. Layla knew I once received an art scholarship, knew I had given up that bright future to stay with Robert. "It's just 2 years. I'm waiting for you," she added. 2 years. Not long, but not short either. 6 years with Robert, from freshman year through 4 years of dating to 2 years of marriage. I had placed him at the center of every dream. At graduation, the art department held an exhibition called Future. My friends painted grand ambitions, becoming artists, traveling the world. I painted myself and Robert, hand in hand, smiling. For 6 years, he was always part of the future I dreamed of. But he didn't even show up to bring me home like he promised. How ridiculous. The pain in my ankle flared like fire, but I pressed send. "Wait for me. I'll come to Paris." Back home, I took a hot shower, the warmth soothing the cold still clinging to my skin. I opened my laptop, registered for the study abroad exam next month, then picked up the French book on the table. I had bought it while preparing for the Paris trip, when Robert laughed and called it a pointless thing. He spoke French well enough for travel, while I had given up halfway because it was too hard. But that night, I read until late, each word like a stone paving a new road ahead. My head heavy with fatigue, I fell asleep on the desk, the book open in front of me. "Amanda! Amanda?" Robert's voice pulled me from my dream. I opened my eyes and saw him standing there, the smell of alcohol strong, his eyes bloodshot under the pale white light. I rubbed my eyes, my voice flat. "You're back." "It's late. Go to bed," I stood up, walking toward the bedroom without looking back. "Amanda, He hesitated, frowning, as if he wanted to say something but didn't. I guessed he was waiting for me to ask why he didn't pick me up, who he drank with, what Chloe really was to him. Before, I would have done that, argued, exploded in anger. But now I only felt wrapped in exhaustion. "Amanda, when did you get back? Why didn't you pick up my calls?" he asked, irritation creeping into his voice. I glanced at my phone. Several missed calls from him, around 1 a.m., when I had been buried in the French book, my phone on silent. "Chloe just broke up. She's struggling, so I went to comfort her," he went on, his tone like he was justifying himself. "Okay." I cut him off shortly, heading to the bedroom. He grabbed my hand, holding tight. "Amanda, don't be mad. There's really nothing between us." "Robert, I'm not mad." I looked straight into his eyes, my voice empty of emotion, even though my heart was pounding. "It's late. I'm tired." "You should sleep too." I shifted my hand, signaling him to let go. "Amanda, can you stop making a scene?" He didn't let go, his tone sharp, his eyes flashing with annoyance. I yawned, genuinely tired. What's the matter? I'm sleepy. We'll talk tomorrow. He stared at me, his lips moving, but saying nothing more. After a while, his face grew tense, and finally he let go. I turned my back, walked straight into the bedroom without looking back. Slam! Just as I lay down, I heard the door close behind him, hard and deliberate, like he wanted me to hear it. But I didn't care. I lay down, closed my eyes, and that night I slept better than ever. The next morning, sunlight slipped through the curtains, shining on the dining table where Robert had already laid out breakfast, sandwiches and fragrant coffee. Beside it was a small ring box, delicate, glittering under the light. He stood there, his shirt neatly pressed, the familiar smile on his face now feeling strangely distant. 6 happy years, Amanda, he said softly. The day you left for France, I got the news Chloe had just broken up. She needed me. Last night, she had another breakdown, so Before he could finish, I gave a faint smile, my eyes brushing over the breakfast. It's fine. Let's eat. I pulled out a chair, sat down, picked up the sandwich, and bit into it, chewing quickly as if that was the only way to keep calm. Robert opened the box. Inside was a new pair of rings, shiny, cold. He held them up, looking at me, his eyes deep but probing. Amanda, since the rings are gone, let's replace them with new ones. I remembered our wedding day, how he slipped the ring onto my finger, and my voice trembled. Robert, this ring, I'll never take it off for the rest of my life. I had hugged him tightly, tears flowing, overflowing with happiness. But now, I only paused for a few seconds, smiled, and took the ring. Thank you, Robert. I set it aside and kept eating, as if it were nothing more than an ordinary gift. He hesitated, his gaze searching, his voice lowering. Amanda, are you still mad? I stopped chewing, looked at him, my faint smile fading as my tone grew serious. What would I be mad about? You and Chloe are best friends. You see her as a sister. Helping her is the right thing to do. His eyes flickered, his face briefly complicated, shifting from me to the ring lying alone on the table. Then you, he faltered. I calmly looked out the window, blinked, and smiled lightly. Oh, I'll wear it now. I picked up the ring and slid it onto my finger. It felt loose, slipping slightly, maybe because I had lost weight and he hadn't noticed. Seeing me wear it, Robert finally relaxed, smiling as if everything was back where it should be. Amanda, come with me tonight to my parents' house for dinner. Hearing that, I lifted my head, staring straight at him, my heart jolting. 3 years ago, the first time I met Robert's parents, I had nervously prepared gifts for a week, carefully choosing each item. But when I entered the house, I saw Chloe sitting there, chatting and laughing with his parents, as if she were the daughter-in-law. What's so funny? Robert laughed, walking in. Chloe tilted her head, teasing. Talking about how silly you were as a kid. I stood at the door, clutching the gift bags, awkward and embarrassed, like an outsider. After that, Robert always made excuses, never bringing me to see his parents again. I faintly sensed they didn't like me. Back then, Robert's invitation would have made me so happy I could barely speak. I would have rushed to prepare, hoping to be welcomed. But now, I only shook my head lightly. Not tonight. I'm busy. He frowned, surprised. Work at the company? I didn't mention the study abroad exam, just nodded, letting him assume it was overtime. I can wait for you after work. We can go later, he said, patient, though I heard the hint of pressure. No need, another time. I wiped my mouth, stood up, and walked into the room. My laptop, French books, documents. I checked each one, arranging them neatly. Robert stood there, his voice cooling. Fine then. I'll ask Chloe to come with me. I didn't lift my head, my hands still busy. His footsteps echoed, heavy, then stopped, as if he was waiting for me to react, to get jealous, to pull him back. But I did nothing. I just kept packing my things. Because of the study abroad plan, I went to the company to submit my resignation. This is a good thing, Amanda, Lisa said, her eyes lighting up, her smile warm as always whenever she looked at me. She was my boss. But you'll need to finish handing over your work before you leave? Come on, let me take you out for lunch. I nodded, feeling light, though a bit wistful. We stepped into a small French restaurant, the air carrying the scent of wine and freshly baked bread. While waiting for our food, I scrolled through my phone, and my finger froze at Chloe's new social media post. The photo appeared. Chloe sitting next to Robert, with his parents beside them, all four smiling brightly like a perfect family. The caption read, "Family, so happy." And right below, a familiar like, the account of Robert, who never once liked or posted anything online. Every time we fought about Chloe, he would do that, like her posts, as if to provoke me, as if my anger meant nothing. But this time, I didn't get angry. My finger lightly pressed like. Then I locked the screen. "Specially bringing you to this French place. Try it. See if it's good," Lisa said. I tasted it, the rich flavor melting on my tongue, and I nodded. "Sis, how about we go to a bar later?" Lisa raised an eyebrow, teasing. "Out late. Aren't you afraid Robert will be jealous?" I shook my head, my voice light as air. "Then I just won't go back." The next morning, I woke up in a hotel room. My phone lit up with a few unread messages from Robert. "Why is your phone off? Where are you? It's so late. Why haven't you come back?" I stared at the screen, remembering the days when I used to send him those same messages, waiting for him in worry, in anger, in hope. Every time Chloe called him away from our home, he would turn off his phone, shutting me out. Now I only replied with one line. "Work is busy these days. I won't be home for a while." A moment later, his reply came, short. "Okay." For the next few days, I threw myself into preparing for the study abroad exam, never going back home. And today, I stood in the middle of an art exhibition hall, soft light shining on the paintings, working on assignments for the upcoming course. My phone buzzed. A message from Robert. "What time do you finish?" "I'll come pick you up." I thought for a moment, then sent my location, agreeing to let him come. At 5 in the afternoon, I stepped out of the exhibition building, my dress fluttering lightly in the wind, my low heels tapping softly against the pavement. Robert's black car was parked by the road, the window rolled down, his brows furrowed. "Did your company move?" I shook my head, my voice calm. "No. I went to see an exhibition before. I had asked him dozens of times to go with me, hoping to share the joy when my work was displayed. But he was always busy, always called away by Chloe because she was having a hard time. Every time I was sad, he just shrugged. "Chloe needs me. Can't you be more understanding?" "You can go by yourself. I really don't get those paintings anyway." He never knew. Every time I wanted him to go with me, it was because one of my works was being exhibited. It was me wanting to share my joy, my achievements with him. After enough times, I stopped asking. I walked to the passenger seat, hand reaching for the car door, when Robert called. "Amanda!" He paused, his gaze flicking to the exhibition building, his voice hesitant. "How about we go in and take a look?" I shook my head, smiling faintly. "I've already seen it. Let's go." Before I could get in the car, he stepped out, walking toward me, his face darkening. "Why not?" "You don't want to go?" he asked, his voice tinged with irritation. I gave a small smile, my tone light. I've already seen it, Robert. Let's go. He held my hand, his expression complicated, mixed with a rare hint of guilt. But I've never been. I want to see for once. I froze, startled at the sudden concern. All right, let's go, I said. Inside the vast exhibition hall, soft light bathed the paintings. Robert and I walked side by side, but the distance between us felt wider than the room itself. He stopped in front of a painting, hesitating. Amanda, what style is this? I looked up, a little surprised. He rarely asked about art, about the things I loved. Even my graduation piece, Future, the painting of him and me hand in hand, he had glanced at only once before locking it away. This one is Surrealism by the French artist Marcel. I began to answer evenly, but before I could finish, his phone rang. The screen lit up, the caller's name clear. Chloe. I looked at him, and he looked at the screen. Robert's phone rang twice. He quickly turned it off, slipped it back into his pocket, his eyes still fixed on the painting in front of him, as if to prove he was here, with me. But seconds later, the ringtone cut through again, sharp, slicing the quiet air of the gallery. He pulled it out, his finger hesitating on the screen, his eyes flicking toward me. I gave a faint smile, reached over, took the phone from his hand, pressed accept, and put it on speaker. Chloe's voice came through, weak, pitiful, like a performance I had heard too many times. Rob. I'm not feeling well. I'm at the hospital. Can you come with me? I looked up at Robert, his brows knit together, his lips parted. Then he answered curtly, I'll send my assistant to pick you up. On the other end, Chloe's voice immediately grew frantic, laced with sobs. Rob, I need to talk. Can you come? His face stiffened, his eyes wavering between the phone and me, as if standing at a crossroads. I knew he wanted to go. Just like always, the moment Chloe called, he would drop everything, including me, to run to her. Whenever I protested, his patience snapped. We grew up together. What's wrong with me taking care of her? Can't you be more understanding? Stop making trouble? Once, after a huge fight, I packed my things and left for a month. He never called, never texted, and in the end, I was the one who came back, lowering myself to find him again. It's fine, go. I'll get home myself, I said calmly, turning to leave. Robert hurried forward, catching my hand. I'll take you back first. I shook my head, smiling faintly. It's fine. I'll stop by the supermarket next door for a few things. He froze, surprise and hesitation in his eyes, then lowered his voice. Then I'll come home right after. We'll have dinner together. I nodded. All right, I'll go shop first. As I walked away, his voice dropped behind me. Amanda, I'm sorry. I didn't turn back. My steps felt light, as if I had just shaken off an invisible chain. At 7 p.m., I was in the kitchen, the smell of seared foie gras mixing with the rosemary from the beef stew. I had just learned a few French dishes, carefully preparing dinner, niçoise salad, foie gras, beef stew, like a ritual for myself. Robert still hadn't come home. Before, I would wait, call, worry. But tonight I took the cutlery, sat down, and enjoyed the meal alone. The foie gras was a little overdone, but the beef stew was perfect, warm, and rich. By 8, I had finished, cleaned the table, and picked up my French book. My eyes tired, I scrolled through social media. Usually, after Chloe called Robert away, she would post something, flaunting their moments together. But tonight, strangely, there was nothing. By 10, the food left for Robert had gone cold. I stared at the soup, the foie gras drying out, then dumped it all in the trash without a second thought. I opened my laptop, read through materials on the Paris Art Academy, took careful notes, each line like stones paving the way forward. Done, I picked a French film, watching and repeating lines, the characters' drifting voices filling the silence. When I turned off the screen to sleep, I suddenly realized, not once that evening had I thought of Robert. Pouring myself into what I loved, it turned out, was complete in itself. The next morning, Robert still hadn't come home. My phone lit up with a message from Lisa. "Come finalize the handover at work." I replied, "Okay," and rushed out. In the afternoon, while busy with documents, my phone buzzed. Robert calling. "Why didn't you answer my texts?" His voice urgent. I glanced at the screen, saw the messages he had sent earlier that morning during my meeting. "I was busy with work." "What is it?" I replied, fingers still on the keyboard, my tone flat. He went silent, then said, "Last night Chloe had another breakdown. I was afraid she'd be alone, so I gave a small laugh. "You don't need to explain." He fell silent again, so long I could hear his breathing through the line. "Amanda, are you really not mad?" he asked, doubt heavy in his voice, as if hoping I'd scream, get jealous, be the Amanda I once was. But I only said, "Yeah, what's there to be mad about, right?" Lisa winked at me from across the table. I nodded at her, then continued, "Robert, anything else?" "I'm busy." He rushed out. "I'll come pick you up tonight. Let's take a walk." The words, "take a walk," made me pause. In 6 years, we had barely gone on dates, much less walks under the night sky. But I remembered. Whenever Chloe needed comfort, he always took her for long walks through the city, laughing, talking. I had once said bitterly, "I'm stressed too. I want to walk with you, talk with you." He had only rubbed his forehead, exasperated. "If you're stressed, go out with colleagues. I need my own space, too." Now I realized he was right. "No need. I'm going to a bar with coworkers tonight," I said. His tone dropped. "You're going to drink?" I remembered last year, Chloe calling him to her place to drink. I waited all night, only to see her post at dawn. "He's so cute when he's drunk." In the photo, Robert's face flushed, leaning against her, eyes glazed. The next day, when I confronted him with it, he only said, "I was drunk. Nothing happened." Drinking with a friend isn't a big deal. It's normal if he thought leaning on another woman was normal, then so was I. "Of course, going to a bar means drinking," I replied. He was silent for a long time, then said, "Fine, just don't get too drunk." That night, my coworkers held a farewell party for me. The bar was glowing with neon lights, music pounding away every worry. We danced past midnight, still buzzing, and the group suggested going somewhere else. I laughed and nodded, until I heard Lisa call out, "Amanda, Robert's over there?" Following her gaze, I saw him standing by his black car, the streetlight casting his tired face in pale gold. My coworkers teased, "Wow, we've only heard Amanda talk about him. He really is handsome." Come on, let's not get in the way of the couple before. I would have blushed, proud to show Robert off. But now, I only felt awkward, my steps slowing. The group dispersed, and I walked toward him. "Are you drunk?" Robert asked, his voice soft, reaching out to hold my hand. I shook my head, and with the ease of the alcohol, gently brushed his hand aside. I opened the car door, sat in the passenger seat. His grip tightened on the wheel, disappointment etched on his face. "Do you remember what today is?" I froze, thought for a moment, only recalling today was my official last day at work. Then his voice broke, hoarse. Today's my birthday. I feigned surprise, letting the alcohol mask me, my eyes dreamy. Oh, I'm so sorry, Robert. I drank too much. I forgot. The truth was, I hadn't forgotten. Last year, on his birthday, I had booked a restaurant, decorated with flowers, gifts, baked a cake with an icing drawing of the two of us. I invited our closest friends, those who had witnessed our love since college. We set the time for 8, but by midnight, he still hadn't come. Friends shuffled awkwardly, and when I called, his voice was sharp. I told you, I'll come when I'm done. My voice trembled. Robert, do you remember what today is? He hesitated. Oh, my birthday. Tears burned my eyes. Then, where are you? At the office, he began, but Chloe's voice cut through. Rob, hurry! The premiere is about to start. He replied gently. Yeah, then turned back to me, his tone impatient. I never celebrate birthdays. It's late, just go home and sleep. The phone was on speaker, the room falling silent, heavy. My tears blurred the drawing on the cake until it smeared away. Now, Robert stared straight ahead, his hand on the wheel trembling slightly. Amanda, did you really forget? I sighed. Sorry. Besides, last year you said you never celebrate birthdays anyway. His eyes flickered, a strange emotion crossing them. I smiled. If you want, we can celebrate later. With that, I leaned back in the seat, pretending to close my eyes. The car started, rolling forward in silence. Outside, drizzle fell, neon lights streaking into hazy lines, dragging memories of me and Robert past my mind like frames of a film. I knew everything was about to end. I thought about it, but I still didn't choose his birthday to say goodbye. If the beginning was beautiful, then the ending should also be neat, complete. When we got home, the elevator dinged and the doors slid open. I looked down at the gap beneath my feet and froze. Remembering the night I dragged my suitcase home alone, my high heel stuck, the sharp sting of pain. Amanda! Robert's voice called, anxious, pulling me back to the present. I forced a smile. It's nothing, I was just thinking about tonight's dinner. The door opened and a figure rushed forward, throwing herself into Robert's arms. Happy birthday, Robert! Chloe's sweet voice echoed through the narrow hallway. Robert stiffened, his hand half raised, his panicked eyes darting to me. Oh, Amanda, you're here too, Chloe said, her tone layered with meaning, but her body still clung to him, as if I were the outsider. I gave a faint smile. Come in. Let's celebrate Robert's birthday. Without looking at them, I walked straight into the kitchen, opened the fridge, pulled out ingredients, my movements calm as if nothing had happened. Amanda, let me help you. Robert's voice came from behind, but Chloe was already holding onto his arm, her tone coy. Robert, don't you want to see the gift I brought for you? She glanced at me, smiling provocatively. I didn't care, only smiled back lightly, turned my back, and kept working. The house key was given to Chloe by Robert. He said for emergencies. Before, whenever she appeared uninvited, I would always feel upset. But tonight, from the moment she walked in until I set the food on the table, I kept that faint smile, as if everything was normal. At the table, Chloe sat pressed against Robert, brushing his hand now and then in feigned casualness. Chloe, sit across, Robert said flatly, glancing at me. I picked up my knife and fork, smiling. No need to move. Wherever you sit, you still eat. Tonight, it was French dishes again. After some practice, my skills had improved. Golden foie gras, fresh niçoise salad, fragrant beef stew. Chloe tasted the foie gras, wrinkled her nose. Not bad, Amanda. But last time, Robert said my lasagna was the best. Robert cut in coldly. Yeah, it was good. He speared a piece of foie gras, put it in his mouth, then asked me, Why are you into French food these days? Before I could answer, Chloe laughed, chiming in. The best French food is still at Racine in Paris. That year, Robert and I went to Paris. We went to that restaurant. My hand trembled slightly around the spoon, my voice steady. You two went to Paris? Chloe nodded, her eyes soft on Robert. Yes. Paris is so romantic. What couple wouldn't want to hold each other under the Eiffel Tower? At that time, Robert and I. Stop! Robert cut her off coldly, his eyes dark and fixed on me. I smiled faintly. So what did you two do then? Chloe smirked and went on. We went to the Louvre. Robert even explained the artworks to me. And the Eiffel Tower, too. We took photos hugging under it. She laughed brightly, then picked up a tomato slice, sneering. Amanda! Adding tomato ruins it. Don't you know some things, when put in the wrong place, are just unnecessary? She looked at me slowly, her smile full of insinuation. Enough! Robert's hand slammed the table, his face hard. Get out! Chloe's smile froze. What? He stood up, pointing to the door. I said get out! Chloe clenched her teeth, stood, grabbed her purse, and stormed out, slamming the door. Robert snatched the men's cologne, Chloe's gift, and hurled it into the trash, the glass shattering loud. I stayed seated, spoon in hand, tasting the stew, my voice even. Is it good? Robert looked at me, guilt shadowing his face. Amanda, she's always like that, don't mind her. Compared to Racine? I asked without looking up. Amanda! Chloe Bennett and I went to Paris. That was in high school, he said urgently. I didn't even know you then. 6 years, and for the first time he spoke Chloe's full name in front of me. Should I be glad? I felt nothing of the sort. Sad? Maybe, but not enough to keep me here. For our 6th anniversary, I begged him for Paris. Robert, I study art. I've always wanted to see the Louvre. He had shrugged. What's so great about the Louvre? I don't get it. Then the Eiffel Tower? People say couples who embrace under it will be together for life. He had scoffed. Believing silly legends? Nonsense. Only when he saw my anger did he grudgingly say, Fine, I promise we'll go. But at the airport, one call from Chloe pulled him away. Robert, I used to think you just didn't know how to make a woman happy. I set down my fork, looked straight at him. With a napkin, I dabbed my lips lightly. Maybe when love ends, people become calmer. But now I know, you did know. It's not that you lacked interest or patience. It's that you gave it all to someone else. Robert's brows furrowed, panic in his voice. No? Amanda, it's not like that. I pressed my lips together, forcing a smile. Then what is it? He went silent, about to step forward and explain. When his phone rang, Chloe. The sound of the door slamming echoed again as he left. Under the pale light, I looked around the home we had shared for 6 years and felt no attachment. I began to pack. It took 6 years to build, but only an hour to erase all traces. By 3 a.m., the suitcases were shut. I opened the drawer, pulled out the painting, Future. I hope my future always has you. On graduation day, I had thrown my arms around his neck, smiling wide. I had dreamed of painting another piece called Family, but we had no future and no family. I gave a small smile, tore the canvas, and dropped it in the trash. Tomorrow morning, it would be time to meet the lawyer. 5 days later, I saw Robert again. During those days, I had blocked all contact with him, letting my lawyer handle communication while he tried desperately to find me, even running to the company. But I had quit. Of course, I wasn't there. Today, after finishing my study abroad paperwork, I went to invite Lisa for a farewell meal, when I happened to see him in the lobby. Looks like we'll have to reschedule lunch, Lisa said as she stepped forward, glancing at Robert before smiling knowingly. When you return from Paris, we'll have a proper celebration. Robert's face froze, blank like a stone statue, his eyes locked in stunned disbelief. I stayed calm, looked straight at him, my voice soft, sincere, like a whisper of the wind. Robert, let's talk. We walked out to the car. I sat in the passenger seat while Robert lit cigarette after cigarette, smoke curling in the cramped space, like words he couldn't bring himself to say. I don't know how long we sat in that dead silence, until almost at the same time we both spoke. Amanda, let's have a child. Robert, let's get divorced. After the words left my lips, his face went pale, drained of blood, while my heart trembled for a moment before steadying again. I took a deep breath. 3 days from now, I'll be gone. He quickly asked, his voice shaken. Since when did you decide? I met his eyes, once familiar, now so distant. Since the night I came back from Paris. He blinked, disbelieving, then after a long pause, whispered bitterly, So, from then, you had already decided to leave me? I gave a faint smile. No answer, letting silence speak instead. Robert stared at me, his eyes red, unwilling, desperate, the cold arrogance of his usual voice now hoarse. Wait until you finish. Wait until you come back. Let's have a child. His voice grew more frantic, his grip tightening on my hand, but I pressed my lips together, forcing a smile that wouldn't come, then said flatly, That ring wasn't lost. I took it off and threw it into the Seine. Robert froze. When I saw you wearing our wedding ring, holding another woman's hand, I threw it away. I gave a faint laugh, pulling my hand free. Funny! How for 6 years I endured you so many times when you didn't respect boundaries. Funny! How I still held unrealistic illusions about you. Robert, I know, you're tired of me too. We're finished. No, he stopped me, his eyes wounded, clinging. Amanda, we can both change. Paris? Yes. I'll go to Paris with you, okay? His voice full of pain, regret. But I only smiled softly, shaking my head. Before, I always wanted to go to Paris with you. But when I went alone, I realized Paris was always beautiful, even without you. With that, I slipped off the new wedding ring he had given me, the ring that no longer fit me, and handed it back, then opened the car door, my voice stripped of all emotion. Goodbye, Robert. After a few steps, I stopped, turned to look one last time. Robert sat in the driver's seat, staring at me, his eyes lost, chaotic. Then, without looking back again, I walked away, each step lighter, like a dove lifting its wings over the Seine, flying toward the horizon where peace awaited, where a quiet new beginning bloomed in my chest. Freedom, finally here, like a gentle river flowing endlessly, carrying away the old memories to make room for new dreams. And in that current, I understood that sometimes letting go is the only way to embrace yourself, to heal, and to live more fully than ever. 3 days later, I stood by the window of a small apartment in Paris, the morning sun slipping through thin curtains, casting golden streaks across the wooden floor, like the shimmering Seine. My luggage was packed, just a few suitcases holding what I needed for this new journey: sketchbooks, paints, and a French notebook where I wrote dreams that no longer bore Robert's shadow. Outside, doves cooed softly on the balcony, blending with the smell of fresh bread from the cobbled street below, like music welcoming me into a life unbound. I held a cup of coffee, its warmth spreading through my fingers, took a sip, the slight bitterness reminding me of days gone by, days of waiting, of clinging, of hoping. But now, each breath was an affirmation. I am free, no longer someone's shadow, no longer the wife waiting for Robert to return. Today, I would walk into the academy, where my paintings would tell new stories, where I would learn to paint myself again, strong, whole, and defined by no one. I opened my notebook, wrote the first line. Today, I begin again, not to forget, but to remember that I have always been enough, even on my own. Stepping out of the apartment, I let the Paris breeze brush my hair, my eyes sweeping over the old rooftops, the streets branching into endless possibilities. Each step light, I smiled, knowing the future was no longer a painting of someone else, but a canvas of my own, bright and free, like the Paris sun that never fades. And in those steps, I understood that sometimes, to find yourself, you must leave behind what you once knew so that new roads can lead you to where your heart truly belongs.